Cinebois2Cinemen, episode 50.
Episode 50. 50.
50. Dig out the Chateau de la Fite and get a nice big bag of nice and spicy knickknacks.
Yes.
50 episodes.
Speaking of feet, it's quite the feat that we got to 50.
It is, yeah. I'm genuinely impressed with myself for getting to 50 of something.
yeah.
I don't think I'm going to achieve that as just an age.
50
I feel like I'm going to die before I'm
I'm
50. I don't know why, I've just got this feeling.
Oh, mate, I hope not.
No. No. This week, as a little sort of celebration of our landmark achievement,
Yeah.
we're going to diverge away from talking about a weekly release
Yeah.
and go into one of our topic discussions.
Indeed.
And as mentioned in the outro of the last episode, formative films.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one. I've got some special mentions of some special films.
Oh, is it, baby?
And then one I don't like. I've got two I like and one I don't like. I'm quite interested to hear what you have to say about the one I don't like.
Okay.
And I should point out, actually, we have a guest in our midst.
Yes.
Who I will introduce.
Go for it.
This is Marta. Say hello.
Hello.
Oh, Marta. Dear Marta. Finally in the hot seat.
Only took 50 episodes.
Yeah, we've asked. It's episode 1.
Yeah.
Keep ignoring us. No, Marta is a dear friend of mine, like Jordana before, who came on for the anime episode, who met in the cinema.
That's right.
That's it. It's meant to be, I think. Meeting in a cinema, film podcast. I actually ignored Marta when I first met her.
Oh, mate, really?
Yeah, I completely buoyed her off. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Not for any sort of nefarious reasons, not, but
Not intentionally. Just I was not going to speak to you.
I was really hungover, and Marta sort of was trying to,
Make a small talk.
Yeah, trying to get to know me, which is more than reasonable, as we were in a job together, working behind the desk, and I was really hungover. I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore, and just walked off. Vomited in the toilets.
Really?
Yeah.
How long had you been working there for? Like a second shift? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was the first shift we worked together, wasn't it?
Yep.
Just me and you. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was just trying to meet you. I was like, hey, so what are you doing outside of this job? And you just said, sorry, I can't do this. And then I just ran to the toilet.
I'm literally going to be sick right now.
But the way it must have looked from your perspective was just, I can't do this. I just don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
So,
I didn't know that.
It's been a rocky relationship.
Yeah.
It's been lovely, and it's a real honour to have you on. So we can't wait to have your formative films.
Yeah.
We've also got a few of our dear dedicated listeners. I put something out on the Instagram this morning.
Lovely.
While sat at a bus stop. Not for because I was going to work.
You didn't specifically go to a bus stop.
Yeah, to take those pictures. Yeah. We've got some nice responses actually.
Amazing. Looking forward to
We'll
it.
get into that.
Yeah.
Should we do that now?
Let's do it now.
Questing the cinematic void.
Okay then, formative films. Another great opportunity for us to, I guess, be a bit more anecdotal.
Yeah, I've got a few general anecdotes, not necessarily specific stories, but just some heartwarming content for you all, and maybe, who knows, we might laugh along the way.
I bloody well hope so. I think it's an interesting term because it's not something that necessarily means quality.
No.
Not in the sort of sense of prestigious, high quality art, I think it's more, whilst that definitely can be the case, it's more linked to memory or a feeling or just something that alters your perception of the art form.
Yeah, and the world as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think to sort of define it, you probably, it's very much sort of down to the person and personal kind of experience that you have surrounding a film. My picks are actually quite popular, all three of them actually, but I think you could kind of lump this into the films you die on a hill for category, because it's similar-ish kind of. Yeah. I've been very careful not to pick the same ones. But I do think generally it's something that has informed the way maybe you think about either your country or the world, or your behaviour towards other people even, maybe, or just a cherished childhood memory you have of,
it's transportive, isn't it?
and not necessarily childhood either way, just it could have happened last week. Who knows?
All three of my films are from last week.
Yeah.
Not really.
They're all in the cinema right now.
Why don't you go for yours first, Ben?
Okay. I don't know.
You seem raring for this. So
Yeah,
I want to uncork you.
This is one that I think is pretty well regarded. It's very popular and it's known for a specific thing that happens at the end. But it's The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
So I'd like to actually get both of your takes on it really quickly before I rattle on about how much I love it. But have you seen it, Marta?
Yeah, I've seen it.
What do you think? What do you think of it generally? Like, because I don't know, I get sort of mixed responses about it.
I remember watching it on my grandma's TV.
Yeah.
And I remember how surprised I was by the twist at the end.
Yeah.
Sorry for the spoilers here,
No,
but it's an old film.
1999, I think.
Yeah,
we can get
I
away with
was
it.
shocked.
Yeah.
That's what I remember the most. From.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to talk about the twist a little bit, and but before I do, what do you have any sort of memories of watching it?
I remember it being one of those films that a lot of people talked about at school. It was one of those kinds of films. I think it was primarily because of that twist.
Yes. Okay.
And it was a real phenomena in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's actually a film that I sort of managed to, well, not deliberately, but I sort of avoided a lot in my childhood. So, and then eventually I watched it when I was probably a bit older, and I kind of wished I'd watched it as a child in a way.
It was almost sickeningly popular.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of the radio play, songs that get overplayed issue.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
But at the same time, I have some very fond memories of basically. It was effectively the first time, and this is why I consider it formative. It was the first time I genuinely remember being scared because of a film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember distinctly my parents sort of umming and ahhing as to whether they wanted to show it to me, but I'd shown a real interest in film, and they clearly went to the cinema in '99 and loved it. And this was sort of 2004, and they were like, "Well, we have to, we don't want to sort of strictly stick to the BBFC guidelines about what you should and shouldn't show your children." Like, I always quite admired that about them. They were, as long as they knew what the content was, then they could make their own judgment about showing it to me or not. And this was,
that's a good rule of thumb.
I think so, yeah. And I just remember being fucking terrified. I remember, like, there's not that many jump scares in it, but the one that is in it is when the woman walks past the frame, when, like, he's just been attacked by someone in a cupboard, and it's someone's, like, basically she's slashed her wrists, and she walks past the camera and absolutely terrified me. I remember not sleeping very well at all that night, and distinctly telling my mum that I wasn't scared as well. Quite the opposite. It was actually but I think, like, I think the film actually works without a twist as well. Like, I do think it's a good piece of sort of writing, and I also think, like, as time has moved forward, it's become sort of like a very referenced twist. Like, it was actually a benchmark for me of like a kind of good writing and a good script.
It's a pretty good movie. I just think maybe M. Night Shyamalan's films after that, sort of, that they've sort of softened the credibility of that particular film.
It also does devalue that as a film as well. No, you're right. Like, it just sort of, it does make you want to revisit it. And I recently rewatched it, and I was struck by how sad it was. The ending is really,
for years actually.
It's really quite emotional. It's more sad than it is scary at points. Like, it's a very, like, touching, sort of soft, billowy ending. Fades to white, literally, right? And I think the acting holds up as well. Like, child acting, which is quite hard to do.
Oh yeah,
Haley Joel Osment, like, absolutely kills it, even though he was, like, I think he was 11 when he made it.
He's just not aged, does he?
No.
Pictures of him as an adult.
Yeah,
you see pictures of him as an adult.
Yeah,
still literally only, apart from the height, it's pretty much the same.
It's like sort of like stuck his dad's pubes to his face. Do you know what I mean? It's really weird.
But the face is still very childlike. Yeah.
It's really strange. There's a few actors like that.
Yeah.
Child actors.
Yeah,
maybe it's like just being a child actor, like you sort of like you developmentally, it sort of just stunts your face.
Yeah.
And the rest of your body grows around it.
I think there's an issue with it in a lot of sort of Shyamalan's films, in that it doesn't really hold up when exposed to outside logic that much. Like, it's actually quite riddled with plot holes, but
all of his films are.
Yeah.
It's part of the joy of his films.
I quite like it about The Sixth Sense, though. I quite enjoy sort of thinking, well, actually, if ghosts were real, it would mean that we lived forever, and that'd be amazing. So as Cole, as the 12-year, like the sort of 9-year-old boy, seeing ghosts, you'd be delighted. Be like, well, don't have to worry about death anymore.
Maybe the manner of your death. But...
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It just started a lifelong affinity and appreciation for good horror films, and I think there's worth in being terrified. Like, a lot of people don't like being scared, and they'll kind of admit as they kind of go into their 20s that they don't enjoy horror films as much. But I love it. I think it's like therapy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's sort of, I don't know, cathartic, and
100% agree. Yeah,
and the ones that don't work are also entertaining as well. So, thank you, M. Night Shyamalan.
No, that's a good pick.
Thank you.
That is like a film that's like so deeply, just in that particular period.
Oh yeah,
late 90s.
Yeah, serious horror films.
Yeah, that was that was a big moment. I can just remember its presence even as a child, and as a child you're pretty aloof to most things.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, fucking hell.
It's one of those films that the twist gets spoilt by the soundtrack, because the soundtrack, the last song in it is called Malcolm's Dead. And it's like, okay, so you buy the CD, you're like, oh.
Before you watch the film.
Yeah.
Just turn around, who's Matt? Oh.
Yeah. So on then, what's who should we?
Who's jumping in?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you picked a film that scared you, because I think that's like one of the strongest memories we have in general, especially when we were children and we were watching a film. It's like quite a strong emotion.
Yeah.
So I also picked one film. It's The Witches by Nicholas Roeg with Angelica Houston.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a good on that basis. Yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah, I just remember this particular scene when they are at the convention, at the meeting, and they are all dressed up, looking quite nice, like middle-aged ladies, and then they reveal their masks, like take all the skin off, the wigs, everything, show they like big noses and big teeth, and I mean that was quite good.
Yeah,
that is a terrifying. Is that the bit where he's like a mouse or a rat?
Yeah,
he's running
then the witch turns him into a mouse.
Yeah, and she tries to cut his tail off with a butcher's knife.
Oh man, yeah.
Fuck yeah, that is terrifying, isn't it?
He's got a fascination with the grotesque, hasn't he? I'm Nicholas Roeg.
Yeah.
I always forget that he did that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean,
it's quite a departure, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you'd think Don't Look Now. Immediately, that's the film I think of.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Or also one we talk about fairly regularly, one in Australia.
Oh, Walkabout. Yeah.
That's a bloody great film.
Oh,
got to mention that. That's a good choice. How old were you when you watched it?
Probably 10. I don't know if that's right, but I don't know. Probably 10.
Okay. It seemed to be a weird thing in that period of time where, like, even in kids' films, there was like one or two moments that were genuinely fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a strange sense. You can get around the senses by really relying on mood and good makeup, and not gory, not jumpy, not even like sweary or anything, but just like relying on a sort of psychological, uncanny thing. I remember The Witches being quite sort of uncanny in places.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
It sort of speaks to that thing as well, like it creates a sort of dialogue exclusively between children about it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which I've always thought was quite a cool thing. Like, I've got such vivid memories of sitting in my playground. I didn't own it. In the playground, just talking to the kids about scary things in films. I remember Scream was quite a big one for a while as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every kid was. There's always that one kid that had seen them all, and you're always a bit jealous.
Yeah.
Like also, it's like a satire for when you're a kid and adults tell you don't talk to strangers. It like emphasizes that fear. After watching that film, I was like, I don't want to talk to any one in the playground.
Yeah. It's good because it just sort of prey on those anxieties, doesn't it? I guess that's maybe why it's so scary.
Yeah, the Black Phone more recently did that really well, that kind of stranger danger thing, simultaneously mixed with this sort of 70s relaxed parenting kind of idea of don't worry too much about strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a phenomenon that's really grown, isn't it? The fear of who you don't know.
There was like ad campaigns about it. I remember seeing that. You can find them on YouTube. They're quite old, just like stranger danger ad campaigns, and they're quite horrifying in places.
Yeah.
The playground one for me would be actually quickly circling back to Shyamalan is the bit in Signs with the Brazilian birthday party video.
Do you know what? That is my favourite. I love that movie.
Yeah, me
We've
too.
talked about it a lot, but I really like Signs.
Yeah, I'd do a whole episode about Signs if I could.
Yeah. Coming up next week. Marta, you're staying. That's good.
Yeah.
Good choice. I also picked a film that was terrifying for me as a child, but it's not a film that was universally terrifying. I think it was a film that, upon speaking to many sort of adults our age, like, it's quite rare to find someone that was actually terrified of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it wasn't really meant to be. It's E.T.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you find the
I just fucking...
prosthetics?
I don't know what it was about him per se, obviously, because I couldn't articulate it as a child, but I was just absolutely terrified of him. Absolutely fucking terrified.
Really?
My nan had to do was wiggle her finger like E.T. and I'd run out of the room crying. Honestly, it was like that intense.
Oh my god, man!
I remember my great aunt put it on and I ran out into the street in my pajamas crying.
Wow.
Honestly, it was like a big problem.
So that's not just maybe don't put that on because you're around. That's like, don't go near it.
Honestly, I fucking hated it.
Oh my god! That's really
I think it was the sort of. I think what made him scary was that everyone else didn't think he was.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was just like, everyone was like, he's lovely. And now as I'm older, my relationship with him has become more positive. You'd be delighted to know.
Yeah.
And, now I fucking love the film. Like, the chase scene on the bikes, I think is just pure Spielberg.
Yeah, really magic, isn't it? Yeah.
So good. But, as a child, it was genuinely harrowing.
That's bizarre.
I used to be haunted by a nightmare as well. I had a reoccurring nightmare of him that used to plague my childhood. Like for years.
Oh man!
Honestly, it was like a real problem.
Yeah.
The dream would go. It's a bit sad, but my parents would go, "Oh, come on, Danny, we're off for a really fun day out together," and I'm like, "Gee whiz, Mum and Dad, yay!" And then they'd slam the door in my face and lock it, and go, "Bye, Danny, see you later. We're going to leave you with him now."
Ooh.
And every time I'd look up the stairs and E.T. Do you ever see an E.T. where he's wearing the wig?
Yeah.
Downstairs, and just before he jumped on me to bite my face off, I'd wake up crying. Every time. Yeah.
Do you know what? I think I might find it more scary than before now, despite being 29.
Yeah, honestly, it's so strange.
Reminds me of Exorcist. Sorry.
Yeah.
Down the stairs.
Yes. Yeah, that's such a nice. I don't know, I just...
E.T. the Exorcist.
E.T. That's a crossover that needs to happen.
Terrestrial, yeah.
Yeah, Spielberg, if you're listening. I know Friedkin's gone, but you probably knew well enough.
Pull some strings.
Yeah, probably knew well enough to pull those strings. Yeah, no, just a really... I remember... I can't remember the first time I watched it, but I remember my family trying to get me through it.
Yeah.
I think they felt that I had to sort of get through it. And I don't think I ever did in my childhood. I think I returned to it when I was 17, 18.
Oh, okay, you're like, well,
and I'm a man now, I can handle it. And I actually, as a result...
I often wonder, because I had this sort of... there's a video, like a Red Riding Hood kind of cartoon. It was just like a collection of grim fairy tales that had been animated. But the wolf in Red Riding Hood always used to scare the living shit out of me. I remember this really vividly, seeing it, and covering my eyes and never wanted to watch it again. I often wonder if I ever found that cartoon, whether it would ever bring back any semblance of fear. Or if I would remember it and be like, oh my god, that's that very cartoon. I don't know how ingrained in my mind it is. It's fun. I think it's interesting that we've all picked scary stuff or stuff that has unnerved us or kind of unsettled us. I think that really speaks to that formative... and it's not necessarily being a positive experience, but rather one that's sort of incited a sense of warning and danger in it. So I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah. I just think it's so strange, isn't it, how personal, individual each of those things is?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Obviously there are things that are universally intended to be scary, like The Witches.
But the E.T. not definitely.
Not E.T., no.
Not supposed to be.
What was your relationship with E.T. like? Positive?
I liked him, yeah. I liked the guy.
Yeah, liked him, yeah. I just feel bad now. That's the used to say. Everybody's like, how could you hate E.T.? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't like it. Yeah, away from it.
I think it was his physiology, like his body.
Yeah,
and his finger. I mean, that is a bit weird. His glowing big finger.
I think it's one of
those...
It's
a bit dodgy, innit, as you get older.
Yeah, the voice as well, I think, was quite unsettling.
It was his scream.
Oh, yeah, when they find him in the cupboard.
Yeah. And then when she goes out to... I remember, this is before I ran out into the street crying. Cheers to my great aunt for ruining my 21st birthday. But it's the bit with the swings. And the swings are moving. And you hear him go, and he runs through fucking bushes.
That's the one.
Fuck me.
Or the way he walked as well, like a penguin. Yeah. Imagine he's chasing you down, down the hall, walking like a penguin.
He's almost like, because do you know how like there are some animals that just don't look like they can move quickly, but can, like hippos, or crocodiles,
huntsman spiders.
Yeah, like there's something unnatural about that, about the movement speed.
Yes.
I've just made a breakthrough.
Well, mate,
there you go. You see, Cinebois2Cinemen.
You saw him as a threat.
Yeah, I did. I was baffled by his. He's sort of like the equivalent of a bee. Like no one knows how bees can fly.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. I need to rewatch E.T. I was of the era. It was '97. They did a Star Wars and it restored it. A lot of E.T. was computer generated. So I remember E.T. being computer generated, and I was convinced. Okay. Someone told me it was made in the 80s, and I was like, no, it wasn't. It was made in like the late 90s because the aesthetic of film had changed, and so I was of the era. Yeah, I probably didn't find him as scary because in the CG version he's a lot more malleable and sort of literally animated, and whereas the puppet is there's that uncanny valley thing as well. So yeah.
Something to be said for like that kind of era of effects. I think we've said it before, but I think about the context. This is quite different, but like Hellraiser, the fact that those effects are practical almost makes them more disgusting.
Oh yeah, that aesthetic's really unique. That Hellraiser sort of grimy, nasty, devilish,
like sort of
hell.
Like really sort of almost like luminescent blood and something to that. I think. Go on then. What's your next film? Are we moving away from fear?
Yeah,
We've got some reverence now.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one I actually mentioned last week, but I've got a story attached to, or sort of a general theme story attached to Stand By Me. I had to mention it.
Okay.
I ummed and ahed about putting it in because I talked about it last week, but I had to put it in because I remember I was the age of the protagonist when I watched this, right, and it sort of kick-started a strange obsession. Well, not that strange really, but it's obsession with the outdoors and like the idea
that's pretty weird.
Like you could, or these kids anyway, they could just go wild camping and hang out. I remember like being fixated on that. So every birthday I had after watching it for about 4 years was like a camping holiday with my friends. Like that would always be the thing I wanted to do, was go camping with them, because I wanted to recreate
a corpse.
Yeah, I neglected to see like obviously the
I love the idea that your like dad pretends to be a corpse.
Yeah. I want to faithfully recreate the entire plot with the leeches. Stand By Me, please. No, I used to get guitar lessons. Weirdly, I didn't quite really work out, but I could probably still play you the melody from Stand By Me. And yeah, I feel like I was sort of chasing the adventure that those four boys had, obviously ignoring the fact that it was the 50s and also a fictional story. But yeah, I don't know, it was probably just like chasing that sort of instant coming of age realization switch that all four of them have in the film. I'm probably chasing that. Obviously that would actually be quite an unrealistic expectation, because I sort of think coming of age is more of a gradual process, but it's not that sort of idea isn't very suited to narrative fiction though. So I guess I must have been like yearning for that in some way.
Yeah.
I do think there's worth in stories like that. Like I think it's important for sort of like 12-year-old growing up, and the film has a lot of sort of thematic material about standing up for yourself and how to sort of navigate messy and imperfect friendships, and also it sort of softly lets you know that it's all right if you drift apart from people. Like there's a sort of theme at the end about how a lot of they went to secondary school and they didn't really of the equivalent of secondary school. They didn't really chat to each other as much. I remember that striking me and thinking like, oh God, I get
that could actually happen.
Yeah. But I know I always loved that. I a friend, Reese, and I convinced him. We didn't actually do this, but I nearly convinced him to go out to, like, it was like a tennis court with some like hedgerow, and we were going to like camp underneath it's proper Stand By Me style. I think it was October, so I was talked out of it by some adults. Like, you absolutely have to stay indoors. And we were going to make a campfire. It could have been horrible. Like, we could have burnt the like sort of ground surrounding the tennis court down. But I was convinced it was going to work, and it was going to be this like wicked sort of evening. So yeah, that's my pick. That's my second pick. That's
lovely,
heartwarming.
I like that.
Yeah,
it's funny with those kinds of films, isn't it? Because it is like you do sort of superimpose your own journey.
Yeah.
And it's always funny, like, looking at like an American culture from the English perspective.
Yeah, and from the 50s as well. Like, a lot of songs from that film I remember really fondly.
Okay.
Obviously the obvious one, the Ben E. King, Stand By Me, and then it has all sorts of like sort of charming 50s bangers. Yeah.
I'm interested by that notion of like how we as English people look at American culture.
Oh yeah.
I mean, is it as big in Poland at the time?
Yeah, except the fact that I guess we were 10 years delay, so whatever was like in England, it would be in Poland 10 years after on the TV. Okay. You know, we would think, oh, it's new, but it's not new. It's been out for
I wonder why that was.
Ages.
It's very strange. Yeah, it was like distribution. Imagine Phantom Menace coming out in 2009. Oh, that's really strange.
Yeah.
I think American culture is pretty universally imprinted on, because they've got a very successful film industry, and that will kind of spread it like a virus almost. Their culture will just kind of infect other countries for better or worse, and it informs what people buy, what people wear, what people listen to.
I was thinking in the context of music. I remember like as a teenager, like, pop punk was massive.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like Blink-182 and those kinds of bands.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking as like listening to it, you're almost like part of that way of life, which is impossible.
Yeah.
You're not like drinking beers with your mates in a pool in the sun. You're sort of just sat in the rain in North England. You know what I mean? It's like,
your environment. It doesn't kind of sculpt itself that easily, but what you wear and what you listen to can. So I suppose you're trying to, and that's what I was chasing. I was definitely. That's one of the more positive aspects, I think, of that kind of American culture being bled into my own life. I think was.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great movie, isn't it? It's not like it's something you would willingly accept into your culture, right? I think.
I always wanted to build a tree house as well. Could never quite do it.
Same.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Do you ever achieve it?
No.
I
think I had like one wooden board and that's it. That was my tree house.
Actually,
a tree board.
Yeah,
tree board.
Something very similar myself. Actually, I think my dad very kindly. We had like an ash tree that was nowhere near big enough for a tree house, but he managed to get like 4 slats up there, and very precariously, I think. My 12-year-old self would kind of just about fit up there. All I could do was crouch, though. I couldn't do anything else. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's good.
Yeah, I love that film. I need to watch it again because always sort of brings back nice memories. And yeah, just River Phoenix as well, the classic performance of his. Yeah. It's that and Indiana Jones I remember him for, actually. I still haven't seen My Own Private Idaho.
Have you not?
No. Maybe I should give it a go.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good film.
Keanu Reeves as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Gus Van Sant.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Right. Is it Gus Van Sant?
Yeah, he's Gus Van Sant. Nice.
Film points.
Nicely done.
$9,000 a year, well spent.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marta. Hit me with your film.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit. Because I think formative films is also about how your perception of cinema changed. Not just like how cinema reflects reality in different ways, using different film language. So for me, when I discovered documentary films by Jay Rosenblatt, that was for me like a breaking moment.
Oh, nice.
Because he's using found footage from sometimes literally found like in the bin outside like schools, flea markets, and he's using that footage to convey his personal memories, say something about life without actually filming it. So one of the films, Phantom Limb, his brother died when he was really young, and he made this film to kind of convey stages of grief using footage of animals, educational films, classic Hollywood films. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And it kind of opened up my mind in terms of thinking about documentary genre in general. Because I think before that I thought it's just like a boring TV genre, like kind of like subjective view of someone's some events, and So to see it as something poetic, like visually interesting, was quite
a landmark moment.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That I like the idea of for a start his method, not filming anything himself, of just kind of creating a library for himself and conveying like what he's thinking through sort of a montage of images, like you say, sort of educational films, and that must be really interesting. And I guess a break from convention, which in your case sounds like it was quite welcome.
That's when I started thinking about this whole concept of rejecting the camera and using collective memory. So, because actually the footage is quite universal. So, but at the same time, everyone can create their own story based on the footage.
I'd be interested to see if that technique was used today, how you would acquire the material, because like obviously you can't go searching for strips of film anymore. It'll be a gathering of information from presumably like online, and just like I don't know,
burning stuff from YouTube and all that.
Just finding like Summer Fate 2008, taking that and putting that in a montage and color grading it to your liking, and maybe put some narration over the front or something like that. I think the modern equivalent. I find it fascinating.
Does he use narration?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that what sort of guides you through the imagery, or is it
Yes, so what you see and the words, like this completely different. So he's making associations, like using his subconscious mind, kind of letting his stream of consciousness flow based on the images, like what they created. And
What, remind me of the name?
So it's Jay Rosenblatt.
Jay Rosenblatt. Okay, nice. Are they quite long? Are they sort of
no, short documentaries?
Sort of 30 minutes.
Even less.
Oh wow, okay.
Less,
that sounds. I do love that kind of this sort of abstract nature of certain documentaries. There's one. This is a bit of a weird segue. Sorry, but there's one documentary about dreams, which is on the second disc of the Inception Blu-ray. It's really good, and it's really, really surrealist and like quite confronting, and it's just on the second disc of the Blu-ray.
That's true. I'd never even was aware that existed.
It's slightly embarrassing that I ventured that far into the making of it.
I fucking love it. That's cool.
Oh man, that's really cool. That's really special.
That's a real thing, isn't it? When you see something and it completely recalibrates your understanding of what it is you think you know. I think that's the thing that I because I sort of segues quite nicely into.
Oh really? Or a bit? Nice.
So my film is 400 Blows.
Ah, lovely.
I was thinking about whether to include it or not, but I think on the basis of what you were just talking about there, I think there's a lot of crossover there. Because for me, it's like we met at uni, obviously, studied film, but when I went to sort of apply for university and go, as much as I thought I liked movies, I still wasn't 100% sure if that was what I really wanted to do. And I wasn't really that sure just about it in the subject in general. I liked it, sure, but I didn't really feel the passion that I actually do now for it. And I remember, and I also made the mistake of thinking that I was quite knowledgeable about movies, which I think is quite common for like people
I had that.
Sort of early 20s, and you think you know everything. And because I'd seen like City of God and The Haim, that I understood world cinema, and that was it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I remember we used to do screenings quite a lot, obviously, in the cinema that was at the university. And one of them was 400 Blows, and I was just struck immediately by just by the notion that stories don't have to be grand, massive, and that stories can be, just about a young boy rejected by his parents, so just going around the streets of Paris.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I just found that sort of struck me immediately, because I think before then I'd always obviously you'd watch great films, but I'd always what Godfathers and and
films about important people.
And it's all like very sort of like, obviously not to discredit those films, but it's all very much it's Hollywood, right? So it's a narrative structure that you come to expect and understand, and it's driven usually by action or all these kinds of things. But the idea that a film can just be about life and just living and dealing with something obviously that's incredibly seismic for him, but in a way that is quite sort of like low key and down tuned. To me, that was just a massive moment, and I had no idea that films could really do that before that point.
Yeah, you definitely open yourself up to a lot more films if you're willing to take in the smaller stories.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I haven't seen the 400 Blows since uni, actually.
Have you not?
It's just one of those like films that I remember really loving and kind of being enveloped by, but for whatever reason, I've just never thought to revisit it again. I don't know why, because I know it's an incredibly special film and like a kind of a landmark moment, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the great, films of the French New Wave, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the French New Wave film, I suppose, in a way.
Like alongside Breathless,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
That sort of started by, going into that era of film and, European art house cinema. And of course, it's those movements in France and the Italian neorealism and Czech New Wave and all these sort of movements across all of Europe that informed American cinema, like the greats of American cinema that I'd watched previously. So I almost felt like it was coming full circle in a weird way by sort of recognising that and sort of like getting really into that. And I think that's part of the reason why I sort of fell in love with movies, was that realisation. I don't think my love for cinema could have been sustained just on the films that I'd watched previously. So the fact that I was fortunate enough to be in that situation, to be shown great films like that, had a huge impact on it was formative.
Yes,
it was a formative moment in terms of the way I engage with the medium that I'm now absolutely obsessed with.
That's great.
And the idea that films can just be about something so minimal and so small, and I get so angry when people say they're boring. I know, like, to me, it's like, obviously you don't want to come across like pompous, but it's like, I don't know, as much as I love big movies and all that kind of stuff, I just think it's those movies that if you let them, that will stay with you for far longer and have a far more lasting impact on you. If you just let them in,
Oh man, I agree. Yeah, I think like films like you ever seen The Innocents?
I don't think I have,
from
actually.
The 60s, yeah. That was the first time like a black and white film proper blew me away. I remember my granddad knew a guy who had a cinema in like an oast house. It was a bit of a strange setup.
Okay.
But he took me to see, it's based on Turn of the Screw.
Okay.
So it's like a proper cool, I was quite into my ghost stories. I think I might have talked about it in the past, but that would be my equivalent of like just thinking like, sort of films of that era still had something to say which is equally relevant now. It was definitely that. I wouldn't put that on my list, but that's another honorary mention from me.
Fair enough. There's an assumption, isn't there, with those kinds of movies that I think a lot of people just see cinema as escapism, and that's fine. Obviously cinema can be escapist, but
or as entertainment,
absolutely. But I think it's almost like you're discrediting your own existence in a way. Do you know what I mean? Real life's boring. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, there's so much of the stuff I love now, be it like books or movies, it's just about normal people and normal lives and all of the sort of social architecture around them and how they navigate it and deal with it. And to me, that's like so compelling and so fascinating. And it almost made me more, I don't want to say sort of observant, but like just watching other people. Do you know what I mean? Through windows. I'm joking.
With a long lens.
Thoughts, Marta, on the film?
I think it made me think like how much we are bombarded with this like American fast-paced cinema.
Yeah.
People are losing this like sensitivity to slow down.
Yeah, I agree.
That's probably why I only watched 400 Blows once, and it's really hard to, I think, put yourself in that peaceful position and turn the film on and give it 2 hours, or I don't know how long it is.
Yeah.
Because it's a sad film, so.
Yeah. Once you do, though, I can imagine if I watched it again, I'd let it wash over me again and be reminded. I feel like some people treat films like light bulbs as things to be replaced. Do you know what I mean? Like, as you were saying, that kind of recycled nature of a lot of. I'm thinking Godzilla X Kong for some reason. Is the one apart. Not that they don't have their like worth, but they're kind of easily discardable.
Yeah. Yeah. You can like literally leave it at the door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that relationship. Like I was thinking about this the other day in the context of a recent thing. Actually, I want to mention quickly. It's a bit of an aside, but like, you know, I don't judge the people that watch that stuff. I judge the reasons why it's made.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I just think like, obviously there has to be, you know, you can't, everything you watch can't be like a chin strokey tearjerker, you know what I mean? Like obviously like it's like just to cut loose and watch something that's just like explosions and stuff.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about many times in this podcast, I think we do have a fondness for all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
but I just find it I don't know, like I just think it's sort of quite insulting to the intelligence of a population of people that they can't sit and watch something that's like, you know, just about something as simple as a young boy being kicked out of his house, kicked away from his parents or foster parents in Paris.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. Like I just feel like it's so much more enriching, and it'd be so much more. It's in people's interest, I think, to watch those kinds of films. I might be biased because I think.
No, I mean, there's a story I've got 2 stories that I want to retell to you because you told them to me. One of them was that I think this is when you were teaching at college and you used to show sort of the films, like basically there was an assumption by the students that these films were going to be boring, and each time they got blown away by them. Is that right?
So I used to do a film club every Monday.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of the kids were really into cinema. Like, you know, I wish I was as passionate as they were when I was their age.
Yeah.
You know, I was just too busy listening to Blink-182 and playing Halo.
Yeah.
And one thing that really struck me, like I showed them lots of different stuff. Like I showed them the original Godzilla. I showed them Modern Times, Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
I showed them the man who shot the Liberty Valance.
Oh yeah.
Rashomon.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
And they just fucking loved them. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, and I thought to myself, like, there it is. Like, the appetite is absolutely there.
Yeah.
It's just that this is one instance with one small group of kids that I used to teach, but you know, there is. I don't know. I feel like that. You know, the appetite is there. It's just they lack the facilities in which order to engage with those things in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And this is what we go back to. We're talking about with street in regards to streaming. It's like streaming is like the illusion of choice. You know, like it gives you an idea, this feeling that there's lots on there.
Yeah.
But like the amount of dead content on there that nobody watches, and you are being pushed into it. You're being pushed into decisions.
Yeah.
And don't be wrong, Netflix has made some good stuff. I'm not saying they're not capable. Obviously they are, but it's like I think it's all contributing to it. I think it's. Like you said, it's like a restlessness in audiences now. They seem less prepared. Like, you know, I don't think there's nothing wrong with a film making you feel sad.
No.
Why are people so afraid of feeling sad, or afraid of like thinking negatively about where, you know, an aspect of the world or the country they inhabit? Do you know what I mean? Like, these should be things that you should be openly encouraging. Not every day, obviously. I'm not saying every day you should be like, I want to feel sad today, so I can watch a sad film, but. It's those sorts of experiences that are going to enrich you in a far more meaningful way and could even like recalibrate the way you perceive something. Do you know what I mean? And I think to deliberately avoid those things in pursuit of just like only just selecting things that you think are going to make you happy. I don't know. To me, that seems counterproductive to like truly, I don't know, enjoying culture. in a meaningful way.
Agreed.
As much of a tosser as that probably makes me sound.
I don't know, man. I think it's going back to what I was saying about film being like a form of therapy, whether that be in the form of horror or a film that kind of touches you and makes you feel sad and like, or makes you feel sort of a yearning or like upset about either the state of the world or the breakdown of a relationship on screen. Like, I think it's essential to feel those things, and what better way than you know, doing that through the absorption of culture. It makes you, certainly makes you more prepared for the world and for real life events. I think a lot of people, including my wife, would disagree with me. She hates feeling sad at films. She equates it to harming yourself, and I think that's not true. Sorry, Hannah. She started listening to this, so I should genuinely apologise for bringing that up. But
I'm just imagining your DVD collection just the front porch.
Yeah, and the key.
Saturated rain.
Yeah, just challenge. And there's just a locksmith there.
Yeah. He's also moving in.
Yeah.
I wanted to broach something just on the subject of this, because it's something that I've seen come up quite a lot on Instagram. Have you seen, who's the guy that hosts that fucking game show? See, I told you. See, we do this all the time, Marta. Marta was quite worried about coming on here because I think we'd give her the illusion of professionalism, but I think after about 10 seconds of seeing us set up, she was like, oh, okay.
Well, I'll be alright.
He's the guy that did, he does that game show, House of Games. But anyway, there's like a thing that keeps coming up on Instagram. I don't know if you've seen it, or on social media more broadly, about second screens.
Oh, is it Richard Osman?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's it. The Osmeister.
Yeah.
It's just something that came up, and I think in relation to the topic we're talking about the restless way in which we consume culture now, the sort of obsession with short form content.
Yeah.
So the lady in this podcast was talking about how producers' notes will say this isn't second screen enough.
Oh, right.
So the idea meaning that they are expecting their audience member, like a typically sort of passive audience member, to be on their phone whilst watching things.
And that's a phrase, is it?
Apparently that's something that is like an industry term now among so
this has to be bite-sized, digestible.
So the idea is that you have to sort of keep whatever information. I think it's probably more for like their documentaries, I'd have thought. Like the idea that you need to sort of like basically simplify the story and repeat its key beats over and over again, because your viewer won't really be paying attention.
So they're pandering to the attention span of people that have experienced no long form content, or at least not enjoyed it, or are perceived not to enjoy it anyway,
or have just been conditioned, either willingly or not, just to think or behave in that way when they engage with anything.
Oh my god.
I mean, I don't know about you, because I've had a few discussions with this people, and I think a lot of people think I'm being sort of over the top about it when I say I find it quite concerning. And I obviously would be the first to admit, but people will say, well, surely you've been on your phone while something you're watching. And I thought, well, yeah, I have. But if it's something I'm not that interested in, it's different. It's different if from the moment that it's being made, the consideration is, well, people aren't really watching it. So,
yeah.
You know, I don't know. Like, I just feel like that's a real sign of where things are going.
Yeah.
Do you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you can't meet that with, if you have like any vested interest in like culture in any way, how you can welcome that with anything other than sort of, I don't know,
shock.
Just displeasure, about the whole thing.
Do you ever see those like videos where for some reason there's like a game on the top half of the screen and the bottom half is the piece of information you're watching it for?
Oh, yeah,
Gordon Ramsay judging someone's cooking or whatever.
A card, toy, like a video game of a card. Have you seen that?
No.
It's really weird. I don't understand why it's a thing or why it's popular, but it's everywhere, and it's like also like over subtitled stuff. So there's like pieces of text everywhere, and it's almost like you can't. Your eyes must forever be darting around. You can't. You're not sitting back and letting anything wash over you. I don't know.
It was, I think, also dialogue. Like there was too much dialogue sometimes. Like 400 Blows. It's not like it has moments of silence, of course. While in like American films, mainstream films, people would just talk and talk. Like
Yeah.
there will be any moments like to pause and to think about anything because
you're right. It's almost like silence is a problem.
Yeah.
Because if there's no silence, how can we drive the plot forward?
Yeah.
Heaven forbid. People might get bored. Like I don't know. Better throw in a fucking CGI fight sequence with aliens.
Yeah, and then more exposition halfway through.
Yeah.
And a quip. Grab a joke.
Oh my god, aliens again. I thought we dealt with these guys. And everyone in the audience was like, I'll buy the lunchbox. My shit cake eating kids. Nah, it's alright, don't worry about it. I'm not annoyed, it doesn't bother me.
I'm over it.
I'm over it. What annoys me about this when we talk, sorry, I really hijacked this.
Don't worry.
What annoys me is that the retort to this is that you're just being a snob.
Yeah.
And that annoys me even more, because it's like, I'm not being a snob. I just don't want like culture just to lose all meaning and just become like some sort of like passive exchange.
Yeah.
We'll just shuffle around mindlessly.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that sounds a bit apocalyptic and it's probably not ever going to get to that point, but I don't know. That's like the worst case scenario, I guess. But I just worry about it. I just, when I used to teach media to, school, college, it was hard to keep people that even claimed to be allegedly passionate about the subject engaged.
Yeah.
They were, you know what I mean? And I found that crazy to think. It's like, well, I have less. I kind of think, well, fair enough if someone their interests lie elsewhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, film is one of those things like music. Everyone likes films. Everyone likes music. Everyone likes TV. But people that really like films, people that really like music. You know what I mean? So there's a difference.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if it's people that are wanting to study it and go into the industry, and they're not prepared to engage with what I would consider the base level of films.
Yeah.
I don't know. What hope does that have for the industry if people aren't doing that? If they're forming it, if they're immersing themselves in it,
If they're going to become the people in charge eventually, what will that do? What will that mean? Yeah, for the kind of content that's getting created.
Yeah. I'm not having a go at those kids, by the way.
No. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure they're listening.
No, I'm not. No.
Oh,
Yeah, weird.
interesting.
Anyway, memories, formative.
Yeah. Shall I quickly rattle off my third choice?
Yeah, before I start, I have to get off my soapbox.
Alright. So I
Something
hate.
from The Wire.
This is a weird one. This came later in my life, this film. And it's a film I hate. I absolutely despise this film, and finally admitting it because I spent a long time pretending I quite liked it because of its popularity.
Okay.
It's The King's Speech.
oh
Okay.
I think it's shit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's absolute crap, yeah.
I implore any casual fans of this to give it another go because, I don't know, it's one thing I really can't stand. It's over-idolisation of royalty. Royal family.
Yeah, I'm the same, yeah.
I really it really just drives me up the wall. And apologies if you like the royal family. Do you like them? It's fine if you do. Okay. Yeah. No.
Marta's got her Prince Anne t-shirt on now. She's covering it up. Princess Anne.
The film's really guilty of that sort of deification of kings. I just think it's really predictable as well. Obviously, he's gonna
Lose his
deliver deliver a big speech at the end. The performances are like caricatures of any kind of upper class English person. I don't actually think they're that good. It's like an underdog story, but if the underdog was the fucking king of England. You know what I mean? I've just and I know you must be thinking right now, why is this formative then? And I think what it did really was it sort of it kind of taught me that you don't have to be proud of the country you're from if you don't want to be. And I remember thinking when I was watching it, I remember it was 2010, I think it was. I was watching with my first ever girlfriend. It was a sort of cinema date.
Oh.
One of the first. And I remember thinking why am I not enjoying this? I was I don't care about this guy. And it started a kind of, I guess I'm not by any stretch a kind of overtly political person, but I do remember thinking from there on in, I was I need to think more about people with money and how they behave and what their representations of those people are like, because I feel like we as a country sort of do deify the royal family a bit, and I think if we just ignore them, they go away. Just the idea that you're automatically qualified to rule a country because your parents did it, it's just like ludicrous, such an old idea. And also the worse they are, the more they're remembered as well, like Henry VIII. Like you couldn't think of an example of a positive progressive policy he had, but I can tell you that he killed at least 2 women, you know what I mean? Like, so it's the worse they are, the more ingrained in our society and culture, and it's just really. And this film, I have sort of reasonably, not like really strong opinions on it. Like, I'll keep my mouth shut if someone's, you know, when the Queen died, I'm like, I should probably not say anything, because some people who are in the military have like a bit of an affinity for the royal family.
Oh yeah.
And it's always it's for Queen and country, which I find a bit odd. But I'm not a military person at all. I don't have a stake in the game.
So that's the big giveaway.
Yeah. Did a liberal arts degree, you know?
yeah.
So like, I have no sway, and my opinion doesn't matter about that kind of stuff. But I do remember this film being the start of those sort of reasonably, sort of just questioning stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Thinking like, well, like, why do you own like 6 million acres of land? Like, how have you come to acquire that? I bet it was inheritance, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Like, that's not fair then. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And it sounds stupid for me for this to be born out of a film, but before then I didn't think about it at all. And then after then, I remember thinking, I've got to look into this more, and I don't like Colin Firth officially. I was like, wow.
Oh, wow, so you have a lot of realisations.
Yeah, a lot of strong feelings are sort of bubbling. And the worst thing about it is I kept it to myself for ages, because everyone else is saying how good it was and how good the performances were and how it's like a kind of a benchmark in kind of English filmmaking. And I was just like, they're just borrowing from American films about, it's the same recycled idea about like someone overcoming overwhelming odds. And it's just like, I don't know, I just thought it wasn't very good. And also it taught me that popular films aren't necessarily, you know, you can be adverse about stuff, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit of a weird one. I don't know what do you think? Do you think that's so formative? Does that count, or is that me just ranting?
I think you're right. I don't like the film.
Yeah, it's okay if you do. Like, I mean, I know it's a very popular film and it's enjoyable, but like,
I think it's really bland.
Yeah,
it's just a really boring movie. Like,
exactly,
just devoid of anything remotely interesting about it. And I think you're right that, you know, it's hard to feel sort of like any sort of
sympathy
for And again, it boils down. You know, it's not this idea that you can't struggle.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But
I know he was a reluctant king as well, but there's something about it where it's
harder sell though. It's always going to be a harder sell if someone that has lived probably the most privileged life you can conceivably imagine.
Yeah.
And then making a film about him as if the pressure's really on him.
Yeah.
Do you know? I mean, this is the same royal family. It's the second war, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Was it second?
I think so.
We have a tendency to fuck
King
up
George, yeah. I don't know, maybe it was the first.
No, King George is first, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's the first.
No, because he went in because his did his like brother leave to not cop off with an American?
Yeah, it was like that. Yeah, he was a reluctant king. It was like a complicated thing, and he didn't want to do it.
I've got a feeling that's World War.
Cry me a fucking river. Oh no, I'm king of England.
I'm king of England. Yeah, it's weird in World War II because there's lots of photos of the royal family all doing Nazi salutes.
Oh yeah, there is, isn't there? Yeah,
no one talks about that.
Nope. Gets swept under the rug
in favour of this dross.
Yeah,
I think it also made me keenly aware of Oscar bait films.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Weirdly, the film we did before that I really liked, Damn United. Tom Hooper. It's a great film, and it was sort of well crafted and easy to watch and had a good performance in it, and I just think it's odd that he followed it up with this.
I think he's now become the master of making films for Daily Mail readers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's like his thing now. He even looks like one himself, so it's not really something he's sort of shocked by.
No,
he might not be, but he just gives off that vibe just purely by the films he makes.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
If anything good I could say about this film is actually Colin Firth Colin Firth performance.
How did you like it?
I think he was like, he has this something about him that he had in Bridget Jones.
Okay,
He's kind of a struggled man that you want to feel sorry for.
Okay.
He's got something about this.
Yeah.
About his
he's quite
face,
good at that,
I guess.
He did that really well in The Single Man. I like him in that. He had a vulnerability in that performance that I thought succeeded. I have a personal aversion towards like stiff upper lip British actors. That it just irritates me personally. Like that isn't something I feel like I can have a real opinion on because it just annoys me. But that's like down to personal taste. Like Hugh Laurie does it as well. I love Blackadder, but there's moments in series 4 when they're all talking up a lift like this, and I'm just like, I cannot stand it. And that's the reason I've never watched any Carry On films as well. I got to like 20 minutes into one, I was like, I can't do this. Like the kind of like Queen's English accent, colonial vibes, just grates on me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I started ranting again. You did perfectly. I can understand why people, he's clearly very successful, and he Oscar. I think he won an Oscar for.
He did, yeah.
King's Speech. Yeah. So I mean,
that's when I started to think the Oscars was just shite.
I have a similar thing about Tom Hanks. I just really don't like him.
Yeah.
He always plays noble man, like
America's granddad.
Yes, and that's it's really annoying.
Okay.
When people get sort of like put on a pedestal by like, the general population, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was snotty. That was a snotty thing.
No, I love it. I've just spent ages properly ranting, which I found quite cathartic. So for listening to that.
50 episodes in now.
Yeah.
We go to bed when we want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cinebois uncut. No, I'm with you. Bland film, boring as fuck.
Overrated.
Completely and utterly overrated, devoid of anything meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important that a negative experience of watching a film can also be informative as well.
Yeah, I'd not thought of it in that context actually. But that is a nice little addition. Yeah, I like it.
Right, have you got another?
Next
Marta.
Next film, The Room.
Oh right,
One of the worst films ever made, according to the critics.
Yeah.
But for me, it's brilliant. I mean, I think it opened up a new possibilities, like that you can actually enjoy bad films, trashy films, that were either intentionally made bad or unintentionally. The Room, I think it's a bit of a mystery because I think Tommy Wiseau, he really tried to make a good film, which made it even funnier.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What is this film about? Really, no one knows.
The Great American Romance.
Yeah, the love triangle.
Tennessee
characters walk in and walk out of the room whenever they want.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it's formative because I never watched bad film that I when I kind of understood that this is a bad film. People enjoy bad films for what they are.
Yeah. There has to be intention to try to a real intention to make a good one. I think that's the key to making a bad one. Is to have a personality who's so singularly focused on achieving a great work of art, but not having the experience or the right tools or
the know-how
or anything, or any kind of vision that isn't slightly garbled by their quite eccentric personality. That is a great recipe for a really interesting film. I think it is an interesting film. I think it's the way it's made was interesting. I quite like The Disaster Artist.
Yeah, I quite
enjoyed that.
I quite liked it. We watched the cinema together, didn't we?
We did, yeah. It was just quite a sweet little. The idea is that the intention was there, and that's all that matters. I quite like the kind of.
Sort of reminded me of Ed Wood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a very sweet take on
just someone that what I find interesting about Tommy Wiseau in comparison to Ed Wood is that no one really knew where Tommy Wiseau's like money came from.
Yeah.
Did he sell like pants to Korea or something?
Yeah.
That was like one of the things, like he was selling boxer shorts to Korea or something.
Yeah.
The whole man is like shrouded
It's
in
like
mystery.
a legend, around him.
Enigmatic, I think. Is another,
I guess maybe he sort of like did that more knowingly. I think he probably chimed on pretty quickly that, you know, the relationship that people have with this movie, if he has this sort of like enigmatic background, then it's going to sort of supplement the sort of oddity around the film that's making it more popular.
He's a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it is just something that's made by someone that obviously loves, you know, wants to make something great, but as you say, just can't.
Yeah.
Just doesn't have the talent. Like, it's all the passion and none of the talent.
Yeah,
which is like what Ed Wood's about. But I think Ed Wood's a more sort of... I actually think Ed Wood's a better example of the celebration of that.
Yeah.
I'd still probably Tim Burton's best film in my view, but...
Oh, okay.
Segue.
I do like it a lot. I like the bit where he goes on the ghost train and there's a real sweet moment comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's good at that, and he doesn't employ it enough anymore. But
he's got dabs money a bit, hasn't he, Tim?
Yeah. But no, the room's really quite fascinating, and its sort of longevity, I think, speaks for itself. And it is just a fascinating, almost, it is a sort of case study in what happens when you have all the money that you need, but like I say, but that's it. You don't have, and it kind of points to the worth of experience and learning a subject over time, and not just turning up and thinking you can do it.
Also adds another interesting element to the idea of like film as a sort of collective viewing experience. You know what I mean? Like, I pull my fucking hair out and people don't behave properly in a cinema.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm in an environment like that, you welcome that and you want that, you know, because it makes, you know, it reminds you of the sort of the community around the screen, you know, that little small community, that sort of transient experience that you share together. Where did you first see it?
I think during lockdown.
Really?
Oh, okay.
My housemates.
Oh, did you put it on as a kind of means of almost passing the lockdown time, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I watched it again in Watershed in Bristol.
Was that with Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that
And
like?
people were throwing spoons at the end.
Footballs and stuff as well?
No one was throwing. They were throwing plastic bottles as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't remember.
But that was quite an experience.
Yeah, it was quite funny
Yeah.
to be part of it. You know, it's like a cult film now, and people like almost worship it. In a way, bring a lot of spoons to the cinema, throw it, and makes you feel like happy.
Yeah. No, I agree.
How did Wiseau come across?
So it was it was the other actor.
Greg Sestero.
Yes, that one.
Oh, yeah, he wrote The Disaster Artist. Yeah. I said that completely.
He said he can't watch the love scenes. So every time he would, because he was talking over the film, and he was like, okay, now it's time to leave. I'm going to have a drink. I can't watch this. Because they are extended. I think one of the love scenes is like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
There's always candles in the foreground, if I remember correctly. They're panning across candles, seemingly endless candles. It must take hours to light. A fire hazard as well.
It's weird, isn't it? There's a real... It's like it's borders on softcore pornography.
It does, it does stoop to that level at times.
Even like the sets.
Yeah.
I've not seen that film for a while. First time I saw it was at uni.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
We did a screening. I think it was like that cool film module at uni.
Oh, so someone from my school did he was doing like a BTEC. It was a course that was sort of concurrent to what we were doing for A-level, and he did his about a cult film, and one of his assignments was to like host an evening, and he put on Plan 9 from Outer Space, an Ed Wood film.
Oh, yeah.
And because we were fucking 16 and like twats, we all bought in Strongbow and started drinking and getting Larry, and so he put on The Room instead, and we shut up. We all watched it, and like, all of a sudden, like you say, that raucous energy became part of the viewing experience, whereas I think Plan 9 was a slightly different, because I think that is like an example of a film that is bad and you can point out the flaws in it, whereas you can't really point the flaws out with The Room so easily because it's just baffling and bizarre, hence the throwing of cutlery and stuff. I think I'd love to go and see a proper screening of that. Obviously, the only time I saw it was at
There's
Formative
like a
Cinema.
surreal effect in it. I mean, the fake conversations, the unreal way, like the way they were talking to each other. It's basically the conversation was like they just exchanged 3 sentences, and the mother is like, "Okay, I have to go now," and she just leaves, and that's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
And
It would be. I think the end product would be similar to if I went to, like, I don't know, the Czech Republic and tried to make a film in their language and tried to kind of approximate conversations. I think that the result would be like sort of weird soap opera
with 20-minute sex scenes.
Yeah. Well,
Of course, yeah, you got to throw those in.
absolutely. Less candles though. Less candles.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
shoot in an alley. Cheaper.
Yeah.
So I have $6 million like Tommy Wiseau did. So.
Yeah.
It'd be more like a kind of Harmony Korine film, I think. There.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Why?
He did make another film, didn't he?
recently, yeah.
Yeah, that shark. What is it about? Is it a shark film? I can't remember what it's called.
Did it do? Because
I haven't seen it, no.
I'm intrigued by that, because what you were saying earlier, like about the idea of, like, obviously, I think he genuinely thought he was making a great film. He was making The Room, and I think he hastily had to recalibrate his relationship with what he'd made to make it more lucrative. But like, now the cat's out of the bag, and obviously everyone knows that he's not very good at it.
Yeah.
If he makes another film like that, how are people going to respond to that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think he's gonna struggle because, like you say, it's not. He's not trying anymore. He's trying to make something bad, and that's a recipe for disaster. Like, I think
he's doomed. Even if he's not, even if he thinks he's making something good, he's always going to be doomed in the eyes of the people.
Yeah.
Like The Room, that he's just trying to deliberately be bad.
I think he's
Pretty terrible position to be in creatively, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah.
I have to go back to selling pants to the Koreans.
I'm just like, I think he should just ride the wave for the rest of his life. I think he should just go to the screen. He presumably generates an income from that. You know, tour. He could tour it. Like, I'd
He
go
could have
see
for the rest
it.
of his life, couldn't he?
Oh
In
yeah,
theory.
he's set now. That's.
Or like the idea he gets cast in like a really good film,
Oh yeah, okay.
like King's Speech 2.
Yeah,
Tommy Wiseau.
yeah.
Make it better.
I'm fed up of the stutter.
How's your sex life? Don't ask Andrew that.
Yeah, no, God, yeah. Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you, George. There you go.
Right.
Good pick.
Yeah. Very good.
Go on then, Danny. What's your
Final film.
Yeah.
It's The Lost World, but not The Lost World Jurassic Park.
Oh,
It's a film made in 1925, The Lost World.
was the Jurassic Park film named after?
I don't know. Joe, the actual... it's interesting. I think this will interest you as a Sherlock Holmes fan. It was based on a book written by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Really? Oh, no way. Oh, there you go. Did not know that.
So the reason I love this film is the reason that I love a lot of stop motion films growing up as a child. Obviously, I'd seen Jurassic Park and that knocked my socks off.
Yep.
But I always had a sort of greater appreciation and a sort of deeper infatuation with old monster movies.
Yeah. Okay.
From a very young age. I huge memories of like watching like Jason and the Argonauts, The Lost World, them,
Oh, we had the ants.
Godzilla,
Yeah,
King
yeah.
Kong. I was absolutely infatuated with them, and I think what it is that, not to sort of downplay the quality of them, but like it feels more childlike.
Yeah.
Not to sort of devalue the brilliant work of Ray Harryhausen et al. Pioneering, unbelievable stuff.
Really,
That I will adore forever.
Technically very challenging for the
Yeah,
time as
absolutely.
well. Yeah.
But I think as a child, it feels like easier to understand how it was done, how it was made.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. There's like a sort of playfulness. There's like a sense of play to it that I think as a child you could understand more than you can like CGI or
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. One particular memory with this film, so I used to watch it quite a lot, but one time I was in the garden and I had a Yorkshire Terrier called Fraggle and a chocolate brown Dalmatian called Charlie, and I was playing fetch with them in the garden, and I stood in cat sick with bare feet when I went to fetch a ball, recoiled in horror and smashed my head on the corner of a window, an open window. And I split my head open. And I was bleeding profusely from my head. And obviously as a child, you're terrified of blood, but when you see it pouring from your head, obviously it's like, fucking hell.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
And I was like really scared. And I remember sitting in the living room as my mum was getting ready to take me to the hospital with a bag of peas on my head watching Lost World.
Oh, man.
That's like such a vivid,
you
know. And I'd seen it before because I used to watch it just obsessively.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like a real particular memory that I associate with it. But I just love them. I just think they're not only the obviously defining moments. I think it's the imagination and the craft and the way that they create these worlds and realise that imagination and realise those ambitions. It feels very playful.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks a lot more directly to the sort of the perception of a child.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I think there's something with computer-generated imagery that naturally, as an artist, you're going to chase realism because it's a tool which can, in the right hands and with the right time and money, achieve realism. Whereas with Ray Harryhausen, he probably knew, look, this is going to look real. These skeletons aren't going to look like real skeletons. But how do I play that in my favour? And I think it goes before that as well. Like King Kong, obviously, you know, at the time it wowed everyone, and there's some really genuinely interesting
the special effects
stuff.
guy was involved in Lost World.
Really? The same chap?
Yeah. Willis O'Brien.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's the special effects chap.
Pioneered.
Yeah, absolute legend. Yeah. It was allegedly, possibly, one of the first major studio film to use stop motion special effects.
Really? Okay. So, and that lasted for decades, right up to the 90s, because they were going to use it in Jurassic Park. They're called Go Motion. So the problem with apologies if you both know this already, but problem with I say it's a problem. It adds to the charm, but there's no motion blur with stop motion because it's all one frame move, one frame move.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously naturally, human beings in front of a camera are going to produce motion blur, so the frame is captured during the motion. And there was a way they were going to basically circumvent that issue with Jurassic Park, which was Go Motion, which was like animatronic models that would literally move whilst the shutter was happening. And then CG came along too early. I'd love to have seen 10 years of Go Motion, and it never happened. Sorry, a bit of a segue there.
No,
that's really cool. I love
that's a welcome one.
I love that. I don't have as much memories of those sorts of. I remember watching the Clangers a lot. That was stop motion. Remember the Clangers?
Oh yeah.
There's like these.
Is that like 70s, 60s, 70s?
Yeah, it's just
English.
It's this guy. He made it in his shed, I think. And he had like the really, and even for that era, had a really naff microphone. And so his voiceover narration is like, it has that raspiness that you don't get with modern microphones, and it's like the soup dragon, like that kind of vibe. And it's set on the moon or something. That's all stop motion. So that's the only time I remember, like, apart from Wallace and Gromit, obviously it's slightly different, I think. But yeah, that's the only kind of childhood memory I have of that stuff. It's a shame because a lot of people have, you know, especially you, have kind of demonstrated an affinity for Ray Harryhausen. And
oh yeah, I love him. Yeah, I absolutely love him. Yeah, and I think it does. Yeah, it just comes from that childhood thing, and even my love now of, like, you know, Godzilla and stuff. Like, yeah, obviously, like there's a fascination with that era and the sort of historical and political messages, you know. But I think it all started with that.
Yeah.
Shall I rattle through a few people's comments?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I put out something on the Instagram just asking people for their own formative films. We got a few.
Lovely.
Mostly long-time listeners.
Oh, cool.
So thank you for that, everybody. Jack Monroe said Alien. Started my love for sci-fi horror films and games. Got me to appreciate 70s and 80s media. So as a sort of entry point, it's not only a genre, but a period.
Yeah. My first 18, Alien.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's a great film, wasn't it?
I had an honorary mentions list that I deleted because I didn't think there'd be time, but that was on it. monster.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Again, that is another film that terrified me as a child,
Yeah,
even
completely.
without seeing the film.
Oh, really? What, the concept?
I remember like my dad was really into aliens.
Okay.
And I think there was like a sort of small revival in my very young, and I remember I had loads of the toys, the Xenomorph toys.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I'd not even seen the film, but I was very much aware of it and scared of it.
Yeah.
I remember one Christmas Eve party, I ate too many pickled onions, and in the middle of the night, woke up. I had a dream that an alien one of the xenomorphs was eating my innards, and I woke up and vomited all over the floor. Yeah.
No way.
Any thoughts, Alien?
Surprisingly, I wasn't scared of aliens. I was kind of convinced that they are going to defeat them anyway. So I was just like...
Okay.
Right.
The only terrifying scene was when the alien comes out of the chest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's pivotal, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was scary as a child. I thought it was scary in a more of a visceral way. Like the kind of H.R. Geiger inspirations and that kind of, that kind of squirm of the sort of squirm of eels squeamishness. I think they did that really well. Also, the shot of the cat slowly receding into the darkness was like one of my favourite film shots ever. Do you know?
Yeah,
where
Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah, Jonesy, and the cat. They put a dog near the cat. That's how they got the cat to go back. Yeah. Love it.
Very good. It's also, I think, aesthetically one of the most beautiful films in terms of the commitment to it's almost living, breathing sort of world.
Yes, yeah.
But condensed, that view of the world condensed into the interior of a spacecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliantly designed. Dale says Dunkirk, and he then put not because of the nationalism, or maybe I think he's saying that there's a tendency for those kinds of films to be viewed through a nationalist lens.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
But more as an example of showing the horror of war, which I completely agree with him about.
Yeah.
I very much like that film. We've talked about that a few times.
Yeah.
Probably still my favourite Nolan film, I think.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Feels like watching documentary a little bit. Like there's like this mixed feature film with documentary.
Yeah.
Kind of not just a fiction film based on history events, but like it's like a mix between documentary and feature.
Yeah.
Like
he's into his sort of handheld aesthetic.
Yeah.
Definitely. Nolan. Even on films like The Prestige, which is like a historical film, and handheld is a big no for those kinds of films. He did it anyway. I admire him for that. I mean, and it's about a military defeat, so any sort of semblance of nationalism, I think it's a strange thing to take from that. Yeah. Because Dunkirk was in one way it was a huge success because we evacuated all the troops, but from a military point of view, it was a big fuck up.
Right? At that stage in the war, it was an absolute pasting, wasn't it?
We allowed ourselves to be surrounded. So, yeah.
We've got Ruby Barber.
Oh yeah, Ruby. Hey, that's cool.
La La Land, the first good film I ever watched.
Wow, I assume she means in the cinema.
I assume so.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I liked La La Land when I went to see it. Damien Chazelle. I still think Whiplash is my favourite of his. I need to rewatch Babylon because I feel like I might enjoy it more.
We weren't that kind about it when we watched it, were we?
No, yeah, but as a kind of from the point of cinematography and I struggle with musicals, but I liked La La Land a lot, and that's quite something to say, I think. Yeah,
I did quite like it. I as I've gotten older, my appreciation for musicals has it's grown.
Yeah.
I really like the Jack Demme ones particularly.
Okay,
so
but you can't wait for Joker too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's going to be great. We'll have to review that.
I think so. Yeah. We'll have to see it.
Barney said Blue Velvet expanded my film watching horizons as a teen and sparked my love for all things David Lynch.
Yes, that's probably my favourite comment so far.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good lad, Barney.
Are you a Lynch?
Big Lynch
fan?
Yeah.
I mean,
he comes up quite a lot actually.
Yeah.
In this podcast. We were talking about The Elephant Man the other day. Obviously June. And we probably mentioned Blue Velvet before. I love Blue Velvet.
It's a bloody great film, isn't it?
Opening shot, going under the grass and seeing all the bugs. I was like, okay, I like this.
yeah. He's just so good at, I think, marrying so many different elements of American culture together, isn't he?
Yeah,
still retaining his distinctive style. I think that's his sort of broad appeal, isn't it? Because he does have quite a broad appeal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's not someone that's just reserved for sort of snot-nosed shitwipes like us. You know what I mean?
He comes from art background as well. He was a painter before.
That helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like Kurosawa, he was a painter, he was an artist.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Painted his own storyboards.
That's cool.
Tim Burton did
that, apparently.
His painted storyboards are stunning.
Really?
Yeah.
There must be a whole museum dedicated to
Oh,
that.
there better be. I'd give a testy for one. I genuinely probably would, actually.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay.
Place it with a bit of foam. Foam cube.
Yeah.
Just really throw people off, you know. Well, not that many people would see my scrotum anyway. But Alex from the film angle. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, on the eve of lockdown, seeing a masterpiece whilst the future was unknown.
I love that film.
It is a great movie.
He mentions that a lot. I mean, you can tell he's got a real affinity for Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah. It is a great film.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. You could equate it to Call Me by Your Name. I think Call Me by Your Name is better, but I think Portrait of a Lady on Fire is like more graceful.
Yeah,
there's a real kind of tragedy that kind of harkens back to like almost Shakespeare.
I agree.
Levels of. Have you seen it?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's very good.
Go for it.
Yeah,
go for it. We'll put it on now.
Yes. We'll stay. We'll keep recording.
Yeah.
Get taken down for copyright reasons.
Yeah, they're the comments. That's it.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like that. Yeah, I've really enjoyed sort of hearing your stories about the kind of films as you know, if you're growing up with them, or like I thought The Room was a really great example of that was like a bit of a curveball. I was like, I wasn't expected to hear that. That's great. And I had a lot more to say about that than I thought I would. So nice.
Yeah, no, I think it just shows what I think you said right at the beginning. Like, formative can mean so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
It changes your relationship or perception of the medium you love. It makes you ask broader questions about what's happening with that medium or whatever.
Yeah.
But it also can just be as simple as a childhood memory and that you cherish or hold dear. And even if it's not necessarily like a memory that's like positive.
Yeah, no.
You can still hold them really dear.
I imagine, The Lost World probably calmed you down and distracted you.
Yeah, I think I was. I remember thinking, God, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Despite the fact my head was just
bleeding.
caved in. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I can still remember it so vividly.
Oh, mate.
I just remember the pain as well.
Yeah.
Weird.
Nice. Not nice, but
Outro?
Questing the cinematic void.
There we have it then.
There we have it. Thank you so much, Marta.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's, again, 50 episodes taken. Don't be a stranger. Come back. Please come back.
Yeah.
Next week...
Civil War?
Let's
do Civil War.
Civil War, yeah, Alex Garland.
Yeah. Big fan of Alex Garland. I like even his lesser work. I kind of...
Is that Men?
Yeah, I really like Men.
I've not seen it, actually.
I love Men.
It's embarrassing how funny that was.
Sorry. I was waiting.
I don't know why that's so funny.
I was waiting 1 hour 42 minutes to make a joke about that.
Oh God. Is it on Netflix?
Mate,
I got the feeling it's a Netflix film. I'm not sure if that's true.
I saw it at the cinema. I was like first in line. No one else was. Yeah, it made like 2 million.
Yeah, it didn't do well, did it?
No.
I like him too. I'm interested about this film in particular.
Yeah,
feels like it's sort of loaded with a lot of the anxiety of this, just very, very real right now.
Yeah, absolutely. About just conflict and things like that. I've heard it's. I've not read any reviews, but the initial response has been quite positive. I was a bit worried actually because it looked like the kind of film which was like just a really unsubtle message.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you've literally okay, that's right. Comment on America kind of thing. But apparently, there's a lot more to it. It's about sort of journalism and stuff. So really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Would you be checking it out, Marta?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
you should. We should go.
Yeah. I'm up for that. I'm in Italy, so I'll have to go separately. But
maybe you can call us whilst in the cinema in Italy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
That
do
might be good, actually. Yeah. If you find a sort of a late screening, then no one will kick you out.
That's true. Yeah,
on the phone. Yeah.
You can make comments about the film throughout.
Yeah. And and then like Hannah and everyone in Italy is going to be like, what is he doing? Are you watching Alex Garland's Civil War on your iPhone, man? Nice. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am.
Actually. Yeah, it should be good.
A24's growth and confidence just continues.
50 million it cost. Most expensive A24 film. Yeah. So
the mid-budget film. They're the only people carrying that torch.
Yeah, I think so.
One of the few, anyway. So that episode probably later next week, as Ben pointed out, he's off to Italy, the lucky sausage.
Yeah.
So enjoy that.
Thank you.
And to our beloved listeners, thank you for sticking with us as always.
Thank you very much. 50 episodes. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well
thank
done, me.
And thank you again to Marta.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been wicked.
Love you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.